in association with Faucher Boxing, and you're watching Faucher Boxing YouTube channel. Like I said again, it's in association with Charlie Brown Boxing, and this is the Terence Crawford versus Yuriokis Gamboa fight for the WBO lightweight title. And yeah, this fight here, this is a good fight. It's a very tight fight. I'll start with the champion, Terence Crawford, 26 years old. He's had 23 fights, 16 knockouts. He's unbeaten. He's boxed a total of 93 rounds and he's got a knockout percentage of 70%. He's 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. And yeah, he hasn't mixed it with that good competition, but he started his career at light welterweight, and I think this is going to be one of the major factors in this fight. He's fighting Yuriokis Gamboa, who you all know, Cuban amateur legend, that's won countless gold medals at all the levels. You know, he's also had 23 fights with 16 knockouts. You know, so he's boxed a total of 121 rounds. He's got a knockout percentage of 70%. He's 5'5.5", and he's got a 65-inch reach. But if you consider that he started his career at super featherweight, this is a crossroads fight for Yuriokis. He's 33 years old, I believe, or going to be 30, on his way. Yeah, he's 33 years old. But I think he's slightly, compared to Terence Crawford, he's mixed it with a bit better opposition. He fought Rogers Matagua, who was hard, Orlando Salido, George Solis, Ponce de Leon, and most recently Darlis Perez, who gave him a lot of trouble. If you consider though that Gamboa also was changing his promotional and management company, went 50 Cent. 50 Cent had to buy him out of contract, and there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes there that, you know, sort of interfered with that fight, if you like. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background there. But, you know, Terence Crawford has contested at welterweight once at the Mandalay Bay. I can't remember the guy's name, but he did contest at welterweight. It's going to be interesting to see if what he weighs in at the weigh-in. You know, is he going to make the weigh-in? Is he going to have to pay money? Is he, you know, is there going to be a title on the line on Saturday? I just get the feeling that he might come in over. The guy really is naturally a light welter, definitely naturally a light welter. But you know, it's going to be interesting. I'd say most people have got Terence Crawford picked for this. Obviously, for the reasons I said, the height and reach advantage. You know, the fact that he's a bit of a mover. He likes to use. He's got good footwork and that, but he's going to need it against Gamboa. Gamboa doesn't have the greatest footwork, but his hand speed is superior to many fighters out there. I think he's got some of the quickest hands in boxing, pound for pound. I only think guys like maybe Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, and you know, I think guys like that have probably got better hand speed than him. But he's, you know, he's not one to underestimate. Put it that way. It is a very tough one to call, but I'm going to go with Gamboa, and I'm going to go with Gamboa because of the amateur pedigree. Now, really and truly, the amateur pedigree don't mean shit. It don't mean shit once you go pro. It doesn't. But in relation to the Cubans and the way they train and the way they train their boxers, their philosophies, their fundamentals, it makes a difference with them. If you talk about a Russian or an American or a Ukrainian or a Kazakhstani, it don't really matter if they got 500 amateur fights, because the level of, I mean, you know, it's a bigger place, you know. those places like Russia and that, they're a much bigger country with a lot more people. So the level of opposition at amateur level is, come on, man. So it's not that good. But for a small island like Cuba, with a population of 11 million, I believe, or more, um, I think Yuriokis Gamboa will have the monopoly on this fight in terms of the pedigree. But it's going to be tough. I expect Terence Crawford to, box behind the jab. Definitely keep Gamboa at bay, because Gamboa does have a leaky defense, very leaky defense. But you've also got to remember with him, if he was to box the way he wanted to box, like in the amateurs, then he wouldn't be as exciting. Now, I have to back Gamboa because Gamboa has been a victim of marginalization, just like Guillermo Regondo has been a victim of marginalization within the game. They brought in these Cuban guys at a time when the game was dead, the heavyweight division was dying. Bernard Hopkins, I believe, was the best pound for pound around the time that Gamboa was coming through. And Mayweather was just asserting himself as as the next pound for pound greatest. So boxing was in a transitional period, and a lot of the guys defected from Cuba. And at the time, all the HBO networks, they knew that story would resonate with the people and bring in the crowd, right? And what they done with them is that once they had their champion, and I'm not dissing no Americans, I'm not, like, don't take it the wrong way, but once they, had sort of got their slave labor from the Cubans, both Regondo and Gamboa and Solis, once they had their little slave labor from them, they turned their attentions to their American fighters. Now, don't get me wrong, it's business is business, but I just think they've been dealt, a bad hand. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm going with my head and my heart in this one. I think Gamboa is going to edge it for that very reason. I think he's got more to fight for. Terence Crawford, like I said, the long reach and everything else, but I just think the hand speed of Gamboa and his agility. I mean, he is, he's fighting at lightweight. He'll be a little bit slower than he was at featherweight, but I think once he gets past the jab, which he will do, he'll start to open up on the inside. And I think his combinations that he throws from body to head, once they start to land on Crawford, I mean, he's gonna definitely start to hurt him. Now, it would shock me if Gamboa knocks out Terence Crawford. I'm not going for a knockout with Gamboa. I'm definitely going for a point. I think Terence Crawford is too big. But there's also something about Terence Crawford, man. He did fight Andre Gorges, Brady's Prescott, Mickey Burns. He fought Sanibria. Those were his best fights, and other than that, he didn't really fight anybody else. But I think his chin, we have to see what happens with that chin when it's tested. Because there have been a few fights where I've seen of him where, I'm not convinced on Terence Crawford's chin. So I'm going to go with Gamboa based on those facts there. And we'll see, but I could be proved wrong on the night. I wish both fighters all the best, and I hope nobody's seriously injured or hurt. But I'm definitely going to go with Gamboa on points. I think if Crawford wins it, he's going to shock the world and knock out Gamboa. But I just can't see it happening. I think Gamboa is tougher than a lot of people think. And I'm gonna go with my guy Gamboa. I'll leave it there. You're free to leave comments in the comment section. You can catch me on Facebook as well, Carlos Blue Faucher You can get me on Charlie Brown Boxing. You can get me on Twitter at Faucher Boxing. And leave your comments in that, and I'll get back to you. Bless.